Hi fellow business owners, I'm Amy Menerick and I'm here to give a little pep talk about bookkeeping and taxes. I know, it's everyone's favorite topic. Now, I'm an accountant by trade, so I live in the details a lot. I deal with these tax deadlines all the time. But I realize that small business owners, a lot of times, you're either not living in these details like I do, or maybe you haven't learned yet the rhythm for when we have to file tax returns and what that looks like for your business. So the truth is, if you're running a profitable business, which we certainly hope you are, there's a good chance that taxes are your biggest expense. So we really can't ignore them. We have to kind of pay attention to them. And we also have to do these things like maintain books and file tax returns just to stay compliant. So I know it's a bit of an unfun process for businesses. I get it. I don't love it every day either. Full disclosure. But as business owners, we do have to be mindful of these, maintaining our books and also getting ready for tax season. Now, if you're a business owner and you have, we'll say we've skipped a little bit, okay? Maybe bookkeeping hasn't been a full priority all year long, and that's okay. That's actually pretty normal. If you haven't maintained your books, or maybe you've missed some estimated tax deadlines, or maybe you're fairly new to self-employment and you realize, what are estimated taxes? Well, all of that's very normal, okay? So with this, we'll say pep talk here, I'm going to cover a few tips of things that you can go ahead and do now toward the end of the year and also kind of gearing up into tax season. Some kind of catch-up things you can do now to put on your radar and kind of learn best practices of how you want to, we'll say, do better in the future, okay? Either to minimize your stress, because again, taxes are unfun, I get it. So minimize that stress, kind of plan for the future, smooth out your rhythms, all of these things to get you back in the driver's seat for your own business. So all of these are going to be good. Now, I'll start here by saying again, this is a judgment-free zone, okay? Judgment-free. So if you let some of these tasks slip a little bit, it really is okay. Just start where you are. Start right now, working through the end of the year and getting things organized and ready for tax season, okay? So first step is really going to be looking at our books. So with our books, it's going to involve either getting our software up to date. So maybe you're using an accounting software like QuickBooks or Xero or Wave or anything like that. It might involve posting transactions and getting them reconciled. So make sure that it really is what needs to be in there. So getting books up to date, reconciled, make sure everything is in there. You may even have some expenses that you've paid, like business expenses you've paid in personal accounts or in outside accounts. Get them. Get all that in there. So get all the data in there. If you are not to a point where you need software yet, or if you have a different system, because again, it's all about data, getting all the numbers in there. That's okay too. So you may have, maybe you've got to just organize your statements, get documents together, receipts, statements. Maybe you've got a Google Sheets or an Excel file, anything like that. But key here, get those numbers. Get the numbers together and get them organized. Don't do a shoebox. Don't do anything like that. Get it organized in a system that really works, okay? So get all that together. Then I would say next step is to start thinking about January deadlines. Now, you may already have on your radar, like, I know April 15th, right? Like that's a common tax deadline. Maybe you even know that March 15th is also a common tax deadline for certain filings, but January, what about January? Okay, well, if you have employees, then hopefully you have maintained employee records throughout the year. So our January filing is typically going to be that W-3 and the W-2s, right? So those are common ones that need to be filed in January, by the end of January, that is. But what about contractors? So this might be a new area for you. So contractors are going to be if you've hired somebody for a service. Okay, so I'm not talking about purchasing retail or products or anything like that. It's going to be a service. And the thresholds are changing. It's still for last year, or rather this year, 2025, the threshold is about 600, okay? So it's a low threshold. It does go up in the future, but right now it's still at 600. Who should you be issuing these 1099s to? Things like that. Those are bigger questions. So for you as a business owner, just to put on your radar that if you have paid someone for a service of about 600 or more, collect information, okay? I don't want to get into the details of should you file and who needs to receive and all that. Nope. For you, let's keep it simple, okay? You might need to issue them a 1099. Maybe and maybe not, okay? For now, don't worry about the details. Just get data, get information, and get it organized, okay? So those 1099s, it's going to be mostly for the non-employment compensation or 1099 NEC. I know I'm getting into details here, but a 1099 NEC, usually those are due at the end of January, okay? There are others. We won't complicate it anymore, but at least now you know that there are January deadlines. If you have employees, yep, got to get those W-2s out. And for a lot of contractors, you may need to issue those 1099s. So I will introduce you to January tax deadlines if you have not had to deal with those before. Now, another step you can do, this really you can do early on, is find your tax person. Okay, now, maybe your tax person is you. Congratulations. Maybe you're going to be your own tax preparer, and you certainly can. So what can you do now is go ahead and start shopping around for your software. So there's lots of different ones. They typically, I will say, nothing's really free, right? So if there's marketing that implies that it's going to be free, it's very likely that it's not going to be free. And this is especially true for businesses. So reason is our taxes, we have more forms and we have more stuff, right, that goes with our filings. So probably not going to find anything free, and you may also need to file state and local taxes. So I say all this to shop, okay? Find something that you like. And if you're interested, a lot of the tax prep software out there, some is more user-friendly than others, in all honesty, and some have better support options too, because you may have questions and you're going to want to be able to get help, either just navigating in the software or with tax code questions. So a lot of them will offer different tiers, I'll say, of customer support. And some even have their own kind of pros and experts available to help even with tax questions. So if you're self-preparing, those are really good options. But shop, find something that works for your budget and works for your business and how you want to prepare your return. Now, you may say, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do my own tax return. And that's okay too. So luckily, there are lots of tax pros out there. So again, you can shop and find your person. If it's not you, then find your person, find your pro, and you can work with different firms, EAs, CPAs, you've got a lot of options out there. So it's kind of like a doctor, right? Like find your person, find your tax pro that answers your questions, speaks in a way that you understand, because taxes can be confusing, right? So find someone that works best with you. You can get your return done and you don't have any lingering questions. But shop is what I encourage you to do. Now, toward the end of the year, so at this point, we're getting close to that 12/31, the end of the year. Yes, you can still do some strategy, okay? Now, you may not be able to do a whole lot since we are later in the year, but you still can do things to minimize your taxes. Now, this will be especially true for taxpayers that have either had like just killer years and you're seeing, very quick income. So if you've got a lot of income, you may want to really jump and start looking at either accelerating deductions or tracking, we'll say, larger purchases. Anything that's really going to impact and kind of move the needle for you and hopefully reduce your taxes. So So for sure, you still have time here at the end of the year to look at large purchases or accelerating certain types of deductions. And another good strategy that I think is true for all taxpayers, frankly, is meeting with your financial advisor. So yes, it's an advisor. You should hopefully already have a good financial advisor helping you with your retirement accounts, even if you have employment, even if it's, you're looking at combining employment within your household or other retirement accounts, investment strategies, anything like that. But financial advisors are good friends to have for sure. So meeting with a financial advisor would be really great to do toward the end of the year, and you can discuss if there's retirement contributions, maybe even health savings contributions and things like that, because there are potential tax deductions that you can take. And another cool thing about certain types of retirement strategy is you might even be able to make contributions all the way up to the deadline of your tax return. So sometimes there are strategies that will even go past the end of the year. So that's very cool to know, but again, it's never too early to talk with them. Don't wait until April 15th to call your financial advisor. I strongly encourage you to call them earlier and see if there's anything you can do now to help you save on taxes and put some of these strategies in motion. But retirement's another good one, as well as kind of securities and investments. You might be able to kind of buy or sell some things and kind of work through your portfolio. So those are kind of high impact kind of deductions or accelerations that you can still do even now toward the end of the year. And some of them you can even do after the end of the year up to the filing of your tax return. Now, deadlines, I mentioned that. You already know now, we've got January deadlines. So we also have March 15th, which may be a newer deadline, and then of course the April 15th. So these are the tax return deadlines. The March 15th is going to be for pass-through, or I'll say partnership or S-corp business entity tax returns. Those are due in March. And then our individual income tax and then our C corporate tax returns are due April 15th. So those, just be mindful of those deadlines. Again, these are deadlines for last year, right? The previous year. So these are separate from estimated tax payment deadlines. And I'll also just kind of put a little caveat here that these are deadlines to file. You can extend if you need to. You can get an extension to file. But if you extend, it is not an extension of payment. So if you have any balance due, yep, it's due April 15th. You cannot extend and do it later. If you pay later, you may have penalty and interest. So I know that's another unfun thing. But again, if you are working now and getting stuff kind of put in motion and you're planning and you're getting your books together, you're already going to know what the damage will be come April 15th. So you can go ahead and start setting up and get things organized, maybe save cash or maybe even accelerate some deductions and reduce that balance due. So you can still do some things even later in the year. Now, after these deadlines, post-tax season, oh yeah, lots of different strategy there, right? So maybe you're looking at, we'll say, a calendar reminder management system, okay? Lots of things that you can do post-tax season. You can work with a software, you can set calendar reminders, anything like that to kind of help you stay accountable, right? So go ahead and set some reminders and things so that you don't let some of these tasks go too late next year, and you're mindful of estimated tax payments if you have to pay them, and you also know when these deadlines are due. So lots of things that we can do. We can learn, right? Learn and try to not have these same stressors next year. But calendar reminders, systems, all of these are going to be great going forward. And then strategy too. I've mentioned tax saving strategies. There's so many, even cash flow, things like that. You do not have to do them during tax season. In fact, this should be a part of just kind of like another business rhythm. So I like to encourage business owners to really stay on top of their books year round, whatever that system looks like. Stay on top of it, preferably monthly, some tasks even weekly, but really stay on top of it and start thinking about things. Think about your strategies, think about your goals, and make sure you've got cash in the bank. Make sure you have all of these in motion. And if you need to delegate, if you need to outsource and hire, whatever you need to do, you can think about all of these things throughout the year. Don't just wait until the end of the year, and definitely don't wait until April 15th to start thinking about how you want to manage the finance side of your business. But again, you can think through these. You can start now. So again, no judgment. Just start somewhere. So start now and start chipping away at these tasks. Get things organized. Get familiar with the deadlines. Get some last minute, we'll say, strategies in motion if you need to, and do the best that you can so that you are not stressed going into tax season, and you've learned and you've committed to new rhythms going into the new year. So hopefully these were very helpful, and hopefully you are now motivated to get going, get everything organized, and get prepared for tax season.